Hello again. Before we start, I just want to give a big thank you to my patrons for helping make this video possible. Now, let's get this ball rolling. Starting off bluntly today with a debate topic that I've encountered a lot, to the point where I felt I needed to compile my perspective on the matter. Namely, the idea that Adam was the face of the White Fang, or the movement for faunus rights, or faunus in general, be it in universe or narratively and thematically. Suffice to say, I hard disagree and will be basing my rebuttal to this idea both in universe terms and as a narrative framework. So let's go! We first meet Adam during the Black trailer, a video whose overarching theme involves Blake, a main character, escaping Adam and reclaiming her agency. In universe, a train heist goes awry because either Adam A lied to Blake about the mission, or B is ignoring orders just so he can kill low-income workers who are potentially faunus, and waited to tell her this so that it would be too late to back out. When Blake expressed doubt, he loomed over her, dismissed her perspective, and then they got interrupted. The rest of the trailer is mostly fighting, but when Adam orders Blake to be his human shield and she expresses worry, he doesn't say something like, "Trust me," but just angrily shouts, "Do it!" And then the fight's over and Blake escapes. Into Volume 1. Our first encounter with the White Fang was via a newscast where we hear they disrupted a peaceful protest. As we now know, Cinder had taken over by this stage, thus we know it wasn't on Sienna's orders. So both in-universe and thematically, I don't really see how disrupting the voices of other faunus really lines up with the idea of faunus rights, or embodies the ideals of the White Fang, who under Sienna protected faunus. The next time faunus come up, it's during Blake and Weiss's argument about profiling. It's followed by Blake explaining to Sun the history of the faunus and the White Fang, and her history therein. Traveling the world as a protester and being exposed to bigotry and violence throughout her formative years. When we see the White Fang after that, they are grudgingly working for a human who looks down on them and is the only one with a speaking role on their side. They are challenged both in combat and ideologically by Blake, who calls on them to stop working for a petty, bigoted criminal. And that's the last of them for Volume 1. On to V2! Where we see Cinder's agents killing members who were getting cold feet and find out this was Roman's job as well. Not exactly giving voice to the people or even your own faction. We see Blake obsessing over the White Fang, and more pointedly the human now seemingly calling the shots. There's also a theme here about how obsessing over a goal and working oneself to exhaustion over it doesn't benefit the cause, and how important self-care and prioritizing are, which would come very handy when, say, an apocalypse witch is on the loose. But let's get back on topic, shall we? Next we see the White Fang at the rally, and it's clear they are still very popular, but this is before they've done anything major on Cinder's orders, so this popularity is likely tied to Sienna's policies rather than Adam's. Serving as the public face of the White Fang is the Lieutenant, who introduces Roman, who is mostly being listened to because he has the guns and is also good at playing to a crowd. His efforts to recruit faithful faunus into a war being organised by a human and to serve Grimm are sabotaged by Blake. We next see them in the lead up to the finale, still being managed by a bigot because, as we find out later, they were strong-armed into it, and planning to launch a major attack on a civilian centre which would kill both faunus and humans, a goal which doesn't line up with past protest or with Sienna's sabotage and punish specific targets methodologies. Also notably, no way out if one gets cold feet. How convenient. The Lieutenant expresses anger at the Schnee family and actually wins his fight. The rest of the White Fang get rolled and Roman is defeated. The attack itself is foiled and we find out that the Veil Branch may rebel against Cinder, damn the consequences. At which point Adam shows up and promises to get them back under control, milady, and you'll note this is the first time we've seen him in 2 years, and his first act is to cozy up to his human masters, suppress a rebellion after her plan got tons of his soldiers killed. But narratively and in universe, Adam is barely a presence and shows little public profile. He's not used to drum up support in the rally and is not referenced by anyone but Blake, and he is shown to be indifferent to the lost lives of his troops after making his first appearance right at the end of the volume. Volume 3, we see in a flashback Adam make a performance out of rejecting Cinder's offer, which should be considered thematically ironic given how he cared not one whit about his troops dying for her cause in Volume 2. He rejects the Lieutenant's offer to track down Blake, but we never learn his motives for doing so, and thus they could be to avoid her outing his plan or their relationship, or out of concern of how such an act would be perceived given her family. Then Cinder beats up his soldiers and he bows to her because she's got a bigger stick than him and also money, and despite being well away from her later, he never makes any effort to say, report this to Sienna Khan and get backup, showing that he's jumped ship. After that, we don't see him until Beacon begins falling, wherein he gives one vague instruction to his troops and then leaves them to get beat up while he murders people in a cafeteria and torments his ex and her partner. And then the White Fang retreat because letting Grimm take over a mass communications tower is dangerous for them too, and unsurprisingly netted them nothing but blame for the attack alongside Atlas, who at least were framed. Given how badly such attacks tend to impact communities even vaguely tied to, or in some cases not even remotely tied to, the perpetrators in the real world, along with the fact that Adam's chapter seemingly went back to Mistral in Volume 4 and the White Fang also lost mass communication because of this, I am not seeing how this lines up with faunus liberation, or how it makes him central to faunus or the White Fang plot in general, either thematically or in universe. He's certainly creating problems for faunus and the White Fang, but that's not really the same thing. Now in Volume 4 he makes 3 appearances, once in a metaphor in the theme song, once in a nightmare, and once in a news report where he's listed merely as a member of the White Fang. That's not exactly a major profile, like it's a public profile, but that's about it as far as it goes. You'd think if he was a major player in the universe he'd be called more than a simple member, and the language around him would be emphasizing his importance or reputation in the community, but not really. The main focus on the White Fang and Faunus in Volume 4 is, you guessed it, Blake, and also the Albane brothers. Blake and her family are all to varying degrees disturbed by the attack, and a High Council seemingly aligned with Sienna is referenced as wanting to penalise Adam and the Veil chapter for the attack. As the public story goes, they went rogue, which is not actually inaccurate. The Albanes even expressed disappointment that Blake gave up the fight, and she counters them that saying she had not done so at all, and they leave, revealing themselves to be aligned with Adam. I won't bore you with the details, but suffice to say Adam once again doesn't really show up for the rest of the volume, and the Faunus and White Fang plots carry on completely without him. We'll note the fact he needs 2 people less blatantly evil than him to act as his face both in public and as handlers for people like Ilya and other named White Fang members should show a lot about his narrative and in-universe role and reputation. Now we move on to Volume 5. Oof, this one stings a bit, but at least the opening is fun. Meet Sienna Khan, who turned the White Fang from a protest group into an expansive and popular paramilitary organization, and she basically verbally browbeats Adam with how badly impacted the White Fang, Faunus, and the cause have been by his actions. How they benefit no one and put them in line with a group they know nothing about while potentially setting the stage for a war the White Fang would not realistically be able to win when they have lost all public support. I say this because we know from the Faunus Rights Revolution the Faunus as a whole can overcome the kingdoms, but good luck inspiring people to follow you after loosing Grim on them. Adam invited an unfamiliar agent into their secret base and then ambushed Sienna with a group of people. Unlike Adam, Sienna did not bow down to intimidation, and rather than fighting her, he assassinated her, and then he needed to lie about the circumstance of her death to drum up anger at Mistral and secure his appointment as High Leader. This shows a few things. Firstly, that Adam is both a coward and an idiot, more interested in bloodshed than workable policy, which is both clear in the Black trailer and only became more blatant as the story goes on. They also show that Adam wasn't even in the running to be High Leader. If there was a High Council, that him being appointed wasn't just assumed, and also shows that despite his claims of popularity, Adam still needed to lie to take charge, indicating that his ideas were not that popular. Adding to that, we see a maximum of maybe 20 or so people even in the know about his plans, and most of them are being managed by the Albanes. Thus, in universe and narratively, this is a relatively small conspiracy and not an ideological shift inspired by Adam. Albanes make it clear later that the control of information has been imperative to allowing Adam to take control of the White Fang, much of which has clearly been their own work. As before, they showed themselves to be handling people with doubts and more difficult or nuanced topics. They debate Adam's worth as a leader and express doubt about his plans, as well as indicate that while they think his leadership is best, it is for now. Unsurprisingly, Adam's ordered coup goes belly up and is responded to rather poorly by the populace, and Fennec straight up dies. Guess this is what happens when you help and appoint an unstable warmonger who can't actually be controlled to a position he's in no way suited for, guys. Adam's plan, having tipped his hand, also cost him Ilya, his key diplomats, likely dozens of more agents, and revealed his schemes. Yeah, he's not going to last long. And he doesn't! His plan to blow up the academy will likely shower Mistral and debris and otherwise terrify the populace, leaving more Faunus to die and giving everyone more cause to hate the White Fang and also blame Faunus by proxy, while netting him nothing of material or political value, let alone the Faunus or White Fang. Meanwhile, throughout this arc, Blake has been seen reaching out to her fellow Faunus, speaking with honesty, conceding just how hard the campaign for equality is, but highlighting how damaging Adam's methods are in general and to his own people. Her actions inspire others to join her, and possibly, along with her life being saved, even bring Ilya around, who proves instrumental in stopping the bombing. Alright, when his soldiers start floundering because his plan is bad and people they claim to fight for are against a meaningless act of mass murder, Adam tries to kill everyone out of spite and then runs away at the first opportunity. We see the White Fang again in V6, mostly in 3 instances. One where Ilya is expressing hope for the future as saving Mistral has won the revitalized White Fang clout, likely helped by the fact that the plan to bomb the academy was put together by humans who are now known far and wide. And then with Adam, who is called out and read for dirt by other members of the White Fang, who oust him from his position and would likely have gone on to do damage control. This would be fairly plausible to me, and given how Gira had to step down in the past due to his own methods not working, a smart leader or organization could play on that and at least prop themselves up as the forceful opposition by proxy once they cleaned house. Unfortunately for them, Adam is neither loyal enough to be removed peacefully or smart enough to do anything more than lose his temper and murder them all, sulk for a while, and then forsake whatever he has left for a doomed revenge quest. A quest he'll be given the chance to drop 3 times before his final effort to kill his former victim ends with him getting stabbed and dropped off a cliff. And we also see him in a trailer wherein he briefly acts on Sienna's orders and seems to revel in violence, is propped up in a political play by Sienna to make a point to Gira, convinces some people who sort of know him to do a theft they're already doing, and introduces the Grim Masks as items to cause fear. Anyway, he fights alongside Sienna during an SDC raid wherein he clearly wants to murder a helpless security guard for fun and only reins himself in because Sienna is there and wants to focus on, the actual mission. He is given temporary command of a singular camp by Sienna, who does indicate high hopes for him, but up to this point he's been working directly under, someone competent. He makes a show of doing it all for the faunus, but smirks evilly when no one's looking, which sort of sums up his entire character. Conclusion. You may have noticed that Adam doesn't actually have much of a presence throughout the series, and when he does, it's mostly in relation to Blake rather than the Faunus or the White Fang. Meanwhile, in contrast, until the start of Volume 6, wherein Blake passes the torch back to her parents Nilia, it is actually one of the title characters who have been persistently tied to the White Fang and the cause. Narratively and in universe, Adam is not majorly tied to the White Fang. He uses them for his own goals, he slides through their internal politics to cozy up next to the High Leader and betray her, but he's not shown or utilised in the public over much, relies on other people to do complicated stuff like diplomacy for him, and by and large shows himself to be selfish, violently destructive, and egocentric. The White Fang always meant something to Blake. It was a key part of her background and motivations, as was the cause. To Adam, it was a means to getting more power on a vehicle that would let him indulge in his violent tendencies. Narratively and in terms of framing, Blake was always tied to the White Fang, and its importance to her is central to her motives running throughout the first 6 volumes. Adam is barely a presence when it comes to the White Fang, and when he is tied to it, it's always to the detriment of the Faunus, the White Fang, and signifies how disconnected and uncaring he is from the cause. Adam rejected the White Fang, its goals, its feelings, and its methods, tried to twist it through deception to suit his desires, and was rejected in turn by the Faunus he falsely claimed to represent. Adam was never the face of the White Fang, not in universe, not thematically, and not narratively, nor should he have been. People who want to use just or revolutionary causes for their own ends, and will even sell them out, are a common problem among both activists and revolutionaries. Adam's analogous to those kinds of people, and was never portrayed otherwise. Whew! Glad to get that off my chest. Alright, well, as usual, if you want to help out with my work, please hit up my Patreon or Ko-fi. There you can get sneak peeks, make requests, and even commission 3D art. Thanks for stopping by.